Hello, everyone, and welcome to our weekly 30-minute webinar. My name is John Deline, a systems engineer here at Variphy, and I will be your host. We're joined once again by Brian McKay, Variphy's longest tenured systems engineer. Can you feel that longevity in your bones, Brian?
I can. I love it. Best decision choice I ever made, or career choice I ever made.
I concur with that. So for today's webinar, Brian is going to provide an overview of the latest features available in Variphy 14.0. We're going to start off with a quick overview of our company and what we do. We'll jump into a live demo where Brian is going to show us what's new in the version 14.0. We'll pause for Q&A and get some of your questions answered. During the demo, if you have any questions, make sure to ask them in the Q&A panel. After Q&A, we'll award one lucky attendee with a $50 Amazon gift card. So hang around to see if you're the winner. Variphy is the preferred analytics and management solution for Cisco collaboration, providing industry-leading customizable reporting and analytics and dashboards for Call Manager, UCCX, CUBE, and now Zoom, along with a suite of tools like remote phone control, change management, macros, and DID management. But today is going to be all about the latest features that will be available in Variphy 14.0. If you have any other questions on any of our other features, or if you have any interest in taking our Zoom analytics for a spin, feel free to message in the Q&A panel or reach out to your account manager for more information. One more thing before we kick things off, Variphy does offer a managed consulting service where Variphy's SE team engages with you on a one-on-one basis to remotely provide additional consulting, unassisted reporting, dashboarding, configuration, and system monitoring assistance. This is a service that provides you with a dedicated Variphy SE to do all the heavy lifting, giving you a completely hands-off experience. For more information, please contact us and we'd be glad to speak to you more in depth about our Ninja Enhanced services. That was a mouthful. With all that said, let's head out in the wild, Brian. You ready to take it away?
Yeah, ready. It always is. Yep,
right.
Let me go ahead and share my screen here.
Make you presenter.
And entire screen, there we go, share. All right, you should be seeing the webinar page on my screen. And let me get rid of the picture-in-picture stuff. All right. Well, thank you very much, John, for the introduction, and thank you all for attending today. We are excited to announce the release of Variphy version 14, which will be graduating from beta and getting its GA release later this afternoon, I've been told, if everything goes well. So, barring any last-minute complications, it should be available later this evening on our website. This will have a few new features and improvements, the most notable being Zoom calling report analytics. If you check out our webinars page, you'll see that there are already some excellent Zoom phone reporting and analytics webinars available that we have already done in anticipation of this release. Some excellent information in here. And, we'll be doing more in-depth things on other features in the Zoom calling in upcoming weeks, including on April 26th, we'll have how to build a Zoom admin dashboard. Matt Sykes is going to be presenting that one, and his dashboard building skills are legendary, as we all know. So you don't want to miss that one. Also, just an aside, we're going to be having Variphy version 15 coming out not too far down the road. I believe it's currently slated for late April, early May, and that is going to support WebEx calling as well. So if you are also using WebEx in your organization, you may want to check those out. We're going to be having a couple of different ones. Next week, we have WebEx calling, reporting, and analytics with Mike and Kyle. They're going to walk us through how to build reports for WebEx. And then Mike's also going to show us how to deploy WebEx calling on the 19th. So again, good stuff there. If you want to register for that as well, please do, and please join us. But today, we'll just kind of take the high-level view of the new releases in Variphy 14, or the new features, I should say. So first off, let's talk about the Zoom Analytics, since that's the most anticipated new feature. And as with the Cisco CDR and UCCX reporting that we've been doing forever, we'll also be offering pretty much all the same capabilities with Zoom, including call analytics, the ability to create dashboards, to create schedules, to assign group privileges to determine what Zoom reports users have access to, as well as what data they can view in those reports. And there's also one new little feature that we'll have that is not available on other platforms that I'll show you in a minute, which is kind of cool. So let me go ahead and jump over to here. So I'm on our Zoom calling cluster here. Basically, you're going to have the same look. The only thing that's different, you're going to notice, really, like let's build a new report. We want to actually build a whole one and run everything, but in the interest of time, but just to show you. So you're going to have pretty much the same options. You're going to have the search sets. You're going to have the ability to create search sets, and it's going to have not quite as many options as the Cisco stuff does, since it's a different platform. And the terminology is going to be a little bit different, as you'll notice when comparing the two. But all the basics are here as far as doing it by calling party, called party, etc. You can do it by site location, which is kind of cool. You'll have all the call duration, call identifier stuff as well, and you'll be able to toggle call history details. I don't think there's cradle-to-grave available on this one, or at least not yet. There's a couple things that aren't going to quite be available at the initial release, but that will probably be added in later on. That's my guess. Other than that, it should be pretty familiar to what you've already been using with the Cisco reporting. And then let me just do kind of a quick ad hoc search here. I'm just going to do let's do calling number contains X, the old wildcard to pull everything. I'm just going to do it for, let's do previous, 7 days maybe. Let's see what that pulls up. Those are going to pull up all of your call data. And again, you'll be able to, adjust the columns on the fly here, just as you can with the other report types. The only new thing is that I mentioned a minute ago is you have the ability to play recorded calls. So anything that's audio recorded, it'll have this play button next to it, and it will play the audio from the call, which I'm not going to play it now because it's obvious you won't be able to hear it because I got my earpiece in. But it will basically just give you that ability to play a call or possibly a snippet of a call if it's breaking up the call into multiple recordings. But you'll be able to play that directly from the Variphy UI, which is nice. It'd be nice if we could do this with Cisco stuff, but it's kind of not really baked into their functionality. But with Zoom, we can do that. So that will be available for any calls that are recorded. You'll be able to play them right here through the application with this little play button. So that's pretty much it for the Zoom stuff. We have covered this in other webinars. So if you want more detail, just go ahead and look those up. Now, one other thing we've added is the ability to kind of set a retention period for process CDR files. This is definitely something new. So previously in Variphy, you only have this option to either preserve the process files or to not. So basically what that means is, let's say you have a retention period of 6 months on your CDR database. You're only going to keep 6 months of data. And then anything older than that, you have the option to either just delete it once it's processed to the database or to archive it in a process folder. The problem we've had in the past with archiving stuff in the process folder is that with customers that have been running the product for years, that folder gets pretty full. It eats up most of your hard drive space. And then you've got multiple years of CDR data to have to clean up and manage. And it's kind of a pain. So we're kind of making this a little less painful. So now if you toggle this on, now you have the option to keep it for, a preset amount of time. So let's say you want to keep only 3 months or 6 months in your CDR database, but you want to keep the process files for 3 years. And then for the CMR, you probably don't need to keep those for that long, maybe 3 months. You can set those there, and it will basically manage that archive folder for you. Anything older than 3 years is going to get purged out every night when we run our nightly cleanup jobs. And then we already had this kind of functionality baked in with other stuff like log analysis logs and snapshots and things like that, where it will automatically clean those up for you. But this is something that we've been meaning to implement for a while with the process CDR data. So now we have that ability. You can either set that globally in the setup administration menu. So that's here in the gear, and you just go to application settings to get to this. Or you can do it in an individual cluster by cluster basis. So let's say you want to turn it on. Let me just pick one of these clusters. And they all say disabled. That's fine. It's because it's lab environments. We're not actually collecting live data at the moment. But basically, if you want to preserve that, it's going to be, I think you have to do it in, let's see, the processing. Okay, purge CDR data. It might be in the other tab. Hold on a second. Where was that?
Wish I could help, but I'm
I
not
know.
certain.
I was just looking at it. Now I'm not. I'm not finding it. Okay, let's see. Right. Two, exactly. You know what? I think it was back in the other one. Okay, hold on. CDR. It's got to be in CDR processing. So let me take a look. Let me take a look at this one. This is the one I was looking earlier, not the other one. Let's see. Okay, yeah, here it is. Preserve files after processing. It says use system default currently, which is the global setting we just looked at. But you can also turn this on an individual cluster basis. So let's say you have one cluster, you only want to keep data for like maybe a year, preserve data for a year. And then your main production cluster, you want to keep it a little longer for 3 years. This gives you the ability to set that. Same thing with CMR. I would probably keep no more than 2 or 3 months of that. But this gives you the ability to set that on an individual cluster basis. So if you have other clusters you're not as concerned about keeping long-term data for, you can do that individually, or you can just set it once in the application settings and be done with it. So let's go back to application settings. We'll show you the next feature that is changing. So let's see. This one, it's kind of more, I think it's kind of more a quality of life change maybe. And it's probably not going to affect most customers, to be honest. But there is a verbiage we use in our reporting called cradle-to-grave. And for those of you not familiar with it, that basically means that if we turn on cradle-to-grave in a report, it's going to show all call legs related to the call you're searching on. So let's say you search on a specific extension or device or user or whatever, you bring up a call. Let's say they have on any given call a number of other call legs because there were transfers and call forwarding and whatnot involved, or went to voicemail or whatever. The cradle-to-grave allows you to see the whole call flow from cradle to grave, basically. It shows you, what the initial call that came in was, if it came in from outside, hit the main line, and then went to UCCX and got routed to Hunt Pilot Group or whatever, however the call routing is working. It's going to show multiple call legs, and these are all going to be linked together by a global call ID number. However, this was a concern that was raised by one of our customers in the pediatric medical care sector, Children's Hospital specifically. And apparently the verbiage cradle to grave was a little upsetting to some of their users, which, given their work, that's pretty understandable. So we have basically given you the ability to change that to something a little, hopefully a little less triggering to some folks. So let's just say you want to just do complete call sequence or something. Let's just call it that. You can name it whatever you want, but I'll just name it that. Now, when you save this and change it, not only is it going to change that label on all your reports, it's going to also change it. Sequence. It's also going to change it in your label here. So notice it used to say cradle to grave label. Now it says complete call sequence label. So you got to remember what you called it if you want to go back and change it to something else. But yeah, basically it's going to change every reference of it, not only in the reports, but also in the UI, which is a good thing. But just make sure you remember what you renamed it to, so you can go back and find it later. But yeah, that is just going to be a universal change that gets applied. I don't think that can be applied, at least not yet, to individual reports. It's just going to put that on all the reports. So it's just kind of a little more generic and a little safer verbiage. And then the next thing we've added in version 14 is some improvements to the grouping search sets. Let's go take a look at those. Now, these are not available in the Zoom stuff yet, I don't believe. The option doesn't appear, but it is available in all the the CDR, CMR type reporting stuff. So let's go back to call analytics reporting, and we will take a look at reports. I'm just going to pick, let's see, I was playing around with, let me go to the other cluster. I think that's where I had my test reports. And I think this is available for both CUCM and CUBE stuff, just not the Zoom stuff yet. Okay, so let's see. I think I had a report called all calls. So basically, when you're doing grouping statistics, that allows you to kind of organize the data from the main search set into kind of a summary table based on how you want to group it. So for example, if we're doing a main search set of calling party or final call party number equals 4X's, which is all our internal extensions. We don't want to know every call that a 4-digit internal extension either made or received. That's going to show that. And the grouping statistics, we have the same thing in the grouping statistics, so it'll group it by that. But sometimes we get unexpected results. Like sometimes with the grouping summary, just depending on how the CDR is populated, it's going to put in not just the 4-digit extensions, but it might also show, some 7 or 9 or 10-digit extensions, external numbers, things like that in the summary. And that, that's just because it's trying to cast a little bit too broad of a net with the calling party or final call party number, and it's including ones that weren't in your initial search set. So now we have the option where you can basically create a search set automatically based on the search set criteria or the call history data. And the difference between those is this one is going to be designed more to use with the actual call data showing. Like if you want to see all calls for each of these extensions, it's going to list them out. Each extension is going to have its own section with their calls, and it's going to list all the call history data. If you don't want the data, you can just use the search set criteria, which is just going to show the summary, just the call counts, but it's not going to show all the individual row data for all the calls. This is going to give you a tighter report, report that way. You can also manually build grouping search sets like we used to do. That was always the process, was to do it manually. But now whenever you create a new report, it's just going to default to this one, and you can change it on the fly. And even if you have it set to call history data, if you don't have call history details turned on, it's not going to show that stuff anyway. So it's not that big of a deal if you necessarily have one or the other selected. Let's go back here. You can still create a manual grouping search set. That is totally fine. But if you decide you don't want to use it and you want to kind of turn it off, there wasn't really an option to do that before. You would just have to remove it. Now you can just switch it back to one of these other two, and it will use those as the default instead. But if you ever want to toggle back to a specific grouping search set you did, you just go back here. It will show up in here again. It won't remove it. So it's just kind of a way to kind of disable it without having to delete it, re-add it later, all that stuff. And then let's see. The last thing they did was they made it so that it flags incompatible grouping search sets with grouping types. And what I mean is, let's say you're doing it by, you want to group it by date, but then you want to do a grouping search set by calling party or final call party number. Well, that's not a compatible grouping type because it can't do it by both in the same grouping summary. So it's going to tell you this grouping search criteria is not supported for the grouping types, and then just allow you to change it to something else. So you could do something, basically if you do it, if you set it to, Yeah, and it's not going to give you any options when you try to select another one because there are no other options that are compatible with this particular grouping type. Now, some have multiple compatible options, some don't have any. It just depends. So let's do calling party number, for example, and then we'll do calling. So it's calling party from call party number is fine, obviously, and then it's going to give you the list of available options that will work with this type of grouping summary. And that's just to make it easier so that you don't, I think before, if you'd run into this kind of condition, it would either throw an error or it just wouldn't let you save it. And you'd be like scratching your head why. Now it kind of explains, hey, this isn't compatible. So if you flip this back, and then you try to see now it's not showing it anymore, the options. So that's by design. So if you see the no options when you're trying to select a grouping search set summary like this, just know that is going to be by design going forward in 14, and it just means that there's no available grouping search set options that match the main grouping types. You would just have to choose a different one, and then you'd be able to select different options down here. I think that's about all we have for this. Kind of a shorter one today. I guess that makes up for me going over last time I did one of these. So, John, do we have any questions?
Yeah, and unfortunately, we don't have any questions. So if anybody attending has something that they'd like to ask, now is the time to ask it. Brian, I think you did a fantastic job. I think some of these new features are really exciting, and I admit I can't wait to see how people rename the formerly known as cradle-to-grave out in the wild. It's
yeah, when I first was playing around with this, just to test it out, I think I went with something like bassinet to burial or something like that, which really isn't any better. So, yeah,
right. We toyed with it maybe more than we should, but
right,
yeah,
exactly.
And I think the grouping search set that you just finished up with here, I think that's going to improve, ease of use of that section of the reporting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think these toggles are going to help a lot. I mean, this alone, like 9 times out of 10, you can fix a weird grouping issue with just making a grouping search set that matches the main search set. So by just being able to toggle this and do that automatically, that's going to definitely save time.
Yeah, it'll ease of use. Still no questions, so
okay.
I suppose I will wrestle back control here.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. Last chance for questions. All right, so now we're up to the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time to hand out that gift card. This week's winner is Jack Kodakara. Congratulations, Jack.
All
Your
right,
account manager
Jack.
will be reaching out to you to get you paid. You want to be sure to join us next week when Victor, Mike, and returning special guest Kyle will demonstrate reporting for WebEx calling. It's going to be a good time.
It's going to be good stuff.
More exciting stuff. Zoom, WebEx calling.
It's kind of cool to see the way the company's growing because we just did Cisco for the longest of times. But, as times change and things evolve, so shall we. So we're definitely going to be supporting, additional platforms going forward, even in the future. So stay tuned for that as always.
Yep. Real exciting time to be sitting in our chairs for sure.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank everyone once again for taking time to join us today. And I want you to have a great week.
All right. Thanks a lot, John. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.